Welcome back, I'm Captain Xavier, and apparently I have a new best friend, and new best friends require best friend pendants, so I'm going to make one! Out of brass and steel, and it's going to be amazing, and nerdy, and hilarious. So, starting with the cutting out of the brass. Alright, you'll clean it up on the grinder. Okay. Nice and clean, nice and round. Need to sand it and polish it and all that jazz before we actually finish it. But now we need to finish up the rest of the cuts, because it's going to be one of those two sides that fit together to form a thing, which means I need to cut the other one, actually. There's my scrap metal bin. And we'll cut the other side. I'm doing my side in steel because I prefer the color of steel to gold or brass. Okay, clean it up on the grinder. This is 16 gauge steel. It's actually scrap left over from a suit of armor. Brass is a little bit thinner. It's probably 18 gauge, and brass is in general softer, but it is still definitely stout enough to stand the test of time. Now we've got to work out what the overlap is going to be and have the little cut. I like that. Okay. Okay, here's the basic shape. And we just need to clean it up so it won't, you know, cut you when you wear it. To the grinder. You can see, and the two halves are going to fit together. The brass side is much larger because it's going to have inscriptions on it. And the other side will have fewer, so it didn't need to be as big. Alright, we're now going to add just a little bit of dishing to these just to give them a little more shape and definition. Okay, make sure I dish this one the right way or I'll be very annoyed. Okay, it goes that way. This one, being 16 gauge steel, takes a bit more force because it is much stronger than the brass. We need to do a bit more shaping because having dished them, they don't no longer meet together quite right, so that's just part of the whole process. On to the next step. Planishing is the process of taking out all the tiny dents that were put in there by the dishing process. So we use a flat, well, as you can see, it's a trailer hitch that I've attached to a mount. We're going to take a very flat, polished hammer, very light, And we're just going to carefully pound out all the little dents. We do this on a round surface, of course, so that we don't end up taking out the curve that we went to all the trouble to pound it into. Yeah, I don't know how well it shows up on camera, but there's definitely fewer little dents now. But we do still have the curved shape. Just gives it a little more definition. Steel one doesn't have as many dents, but it's also harder to planish out. Now we have the two shapes still matching up, still slightly dished, but much smoother. Next step is the etching, which I haven't actually decided what I'm going to etch into it yet. An important detail, to be sure. I know what I'm going to put on the back, so we'll start with that. Okay, I'm doing this with a diamond-headed bit, very fine point to start with. But of course, first I'm going to mark what I'm going to be doing. After the initial, I use a slightly thicker one to get a nice solid etch. An X for Xavier, because why not? Now, the whole idea was that this is going to be my best friends forever pendant, so I could do BFF, but that seems not interesting enough, so I'm going to have to think about it for a little bit and see if I can't come up with a better idea. Gonna have to do some research. Alright, after a little research and learning a new language, I have decided what I'm going to etch into the brass and into the steel. I'm not going to tell you what it's going to be, I'll let her reveal that, so let's Dremel. Well, hopefully I translated it correctly, and hopefully it's remotely legible. We'll find out. The steel side is much simpler. Okay. Now, I need to acquire materials. For reasons that few of you are likely to have any idea about, the chain for this pendant is going to be made out of these brass-coated paper clips. Of course, we don't want them to look like paper clips, so we're going to unwind them slightly, and then rewind them using my chainmail jig. Looks like each paper clip will make about 8 rings. Not too bad. And so a bunch of tiny coils, which we're going to cut with a Dremel, and then we will do a little bit of weaving. I will definitely need a lot more than this, but this is just to demonstrate how it works. Alright, well, as you can see, I now have some rings, thus putting me at risk of being raided by hedgehogs. And I have to decide what pattern I want to go with. There are, of course, plenty of options. I could go with a Byzantine box weave, I could go with a simpler weave. Not actually, I doubt I could do a Byzantine box weave with these small of rings. I think I'll go with, we'll try that one. Okay. Alright, the first batch of coils have been cut and knitted. This is the pattern that I am knitting them into. It's a Byzantine box weave. 4-in-1. Simple pattern. And it's just doing this over and over and over and over and over to create a full necklace. So this will have a ring soldered onto the back so that it can attach, and that's more or less how it's going to look. I've got a new set of coils. This is approximately, let's see, so this is almost 50 rings, and it's made about, what, 3 inches? Yeah, so 50 rings makes about 3 inches, and I need to make about a foot. Take that back, I need to make about 1.5 feet. So, I've got a lot more to go. And right now, I need to cut more rings. Okay, well that should be enough rings for maybe another 3 inches or so. I don't know how well you can see, but the way the rings are cut, they're slightly opened, and of course there's the gap from the Dremel cutting tool. So, for the pattern that I'm doing, I start by flattening out 2 of them, closing it up, and bringing them together. And then I take one and I open it up, and I add these 2 rings, and then I loop it through the end of the chain, the last links that were put in, and close it. And then I get another one, and put it those same last 2 and the same last 2 on the chain, or the new 2 and the last 2 on the chain. So you end up with 2 links and 2 links. That's why they're called 4-in-1. Every ring has 4 other rings going through it, and it's a doubled 4-in-1. Then comes the trickiest part of it. You open up another ring, and it is going to go through the last 2 that are in there, but they get folded back, and the 2 before get folded open. And that's how I get that alternating pattern. And then I start again. Flatten 2 rings, and carry on. Alright, well this project is now finished. This is the friendship pendant and K26 earrings that I have made for a nice YouTuber by the name of CoatDuck. I don't know if she wants her stuff linked from my channel or not, but I'll ask her. Anyway, I have made this friendship pendant because after my bonus round episode, when the winning video came out and I showed how I made it and played the music during the speed up, which was the now I can't even remember it. Nope, couldn't tell you what it was, but it was the theme music used in the original Hitchhiker's Guide radio show, which is where the bonus round question came from. It was based on the Hitchhiker's Guide. She said that it was, hearing the music was like having a paperclip shoved into the pleasure center of her brain, and so I mentioned that I was very good with paperclips, that I'd used one to pick the lock on, the keyboard lock on a computer long ago, and that I had mad paperclip skills, and she asked if we could just go ahead and be best friends now, and I said sure, and asked if she thought I should make a best friends forever pendant, and she said absolutely, so I made one. It is particularly nerdy in a number of ways. I'm not going to post this video until after she's gotten it and figured it out and posted her own video, but the engravings on the pendant itself, which is your standard best friend pendant where it's in 2 parts. I get to keep the steel side, she gets the brass side. The engraving is in the language from Warframe, which is the video game that she streams, and it of course says BFF. Mine has 2 symbols that are MY, so my BFF when you put it all together. And then the chain is the particularly nerdy part. It is a Byzantine box weave 4-in-1, and it is in fact made, as you can see in the making videos, assuming I actually filmed any making videos. I can't even remember, this has taken so long, and life has been such a blur. But the chain is in fact made out of paper clips that I unbent and then rewound on my chainmail jig and knitted together into this lovely necklace to carry the pendant. The earrings are then simply a full coil of K26 that got cut off during, when I needed to shorten a spring at some point, flattened one end and drilled a hole through it and put a little earring loop on it because I had leftover earring making stuff from long ago. So a pair of very nerdy earrings and one nerdy best friend forever necklace. So I hope she enjoys it. I'm sure she will post a video of her opening it and hopefully being very pleased with it. I had a lot of fun making it. It was a good stress relief for me to do chainmail and jewelry again. I hadn't done either of those in a long time, so it was nice to get back into that. This is another sort of thing. If you really wanted, you might be able to commission me to make something like this. It's a lot of work and is not particularly cheap, so keep that in mind. But yes, I do jewelry commissions as well. So there you have it. This was fun to make, and I hope she really likes it. We'll find out. More medieval stuff as time goes on. I do hope to get back into fighting again. I do hope to get back into armoring again. I will do videos on those when that happens, so stay tuned, and as always, thank you for watching.